I'm back on site at our smart home takeoff. Everything here has been working fantastically for well over a year now. Smart lights, smart security camera, smart doorbell, EV charger, even inputs to the solar system as well. Now we don't mean the sky, we mean the solar panels on the roof. But earlier this week I got a call from the client. Everything has stopped working. Can't get access to the app, can't turn the heating on. So we're going to find out what's happened and what we can do to put it right. I'd like to get the thoughts of electricians who install smart systems for customers. How do you support the systems throughout that life? Do you become the IT help desk whenever anything goes wrong? Put a comment below. Also, stick around in this video because there's something at the end of this video you should be aware of that will kill almost any smart system dead in its tracks. Well, thank you for calling the eFIXX IT helpline. My name's Gordon. How can I help you? Everything's gone off. Well, I've got a sneaking suspicion that that is to do with the Wi-Fi system. If you lose that, you can't gain that access on any of those smart devices. Has anything happened in the installation recently that could have caused that problem? Yes, of course it has. The customer has recently signed up to a fantastic new all-fibre broadband offer, and as a result, the supplier has sent out a new internet router. So therefore, this old router has been disconnected, that had all the Wi-Fi settings in there and the password that all the smart devices in this home were connecting through, and can no longer be accessed. So you're thinking, I'm going to have to open up all those individual apps for the thermostat, for the lights, for everything, and put in those new details. Well, here's a great hack that can get this system up in really quick time. So here's the hack that could save you hours, or the customer could even do it themselves by watching this video. I'm going to take the Wi-Fi credentials of this, so that's its network name and the password that was previously used, and transfer it to this new router here. So do that by logging into the web page of the router itself through the IP address. If I look in the instructions here, that is given as 192. This is a Sky router we're going into here. 192.168.0.1, and that brings us into the page itself. And then we're looking for change the wireless network name. Log into there. Now it's because you're going to send something critical. It's asking for the password. This will change depending on the router that you've particularly got, but it tells me in the instructions here that the username is admin, as most of them are, and the password is Sky. You can of course change that if someone's going to sneak into your house and log into your internet router. So sign in, and then you can see we've got some options there. So there's the 2.4 gigahertz and a 5 gigahertz wireless settings. Now here's an interesting thing when it comes to smart home tech. Most smart home tech tends to use the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi settings because you're not so bothered about the speed, which is what you get from the 5 gigahertz setting. It's all about the range. So the products themselves may be some distance from the router itself, so they use that network. So in this case, I'm just going to change the network name for the 2.4 gigahertz, because the client may have already hooked up some devices to this new one, and it's really just a case of navigating down to find obviously the network name, or the SSID, and the password, which we can see on this page here. So I'm going to take the option here to basically call the different networks different settings. So I'm going to set up the 2.4 gigahertz as the old device here, and keep the new 5 gigahertz settings. You could of course change them all. That's personal preference. So it's really easy. Find that setting. So I'm just going to put in the old name and password for this device, which you normally find either a little card on the back of the router or underneath it, making sure it's always case sensitive. And again for the password, and then just apply that to the router, and we should be back up in business. So these details have now been changed in the router, and it's rebooted, and the smart devices in the property now have thought they're now connecting to the old Wi-Fi network with the same password and ID they have stored in them, but it's now been delivered by this new router here. So we can now control the lights with the app, and a thermostat for the app, even if we're remote from the property. And just to be clear, lots of smart devices will continue to operate without Wi-Fi access. It's just if you want to use the app, particularly remote from the property, that you will need to access them through the Wi-Fi network, and that's what a lot of people get used to doing, particularly with things like heating controls and security. especially smart doorbells and cameras do need the Wi-Fi network to keep operating. If you lose that, you lose your security. But thinking of losing security, come and have a look at this. So it's fantastic now that our smart doorbell is operating again and I can see what's going on at the property remotely for when that all-important delivery turns up from that well-known online retailer who does next day free delivery. But what if I had other purposes? What if I was totally reliant upon this for security? I've got a smart security system installed. I've got other cameras. Is there an easy way to disable them if I was a burglar, for instance? Or would you want to protect against that happening? Well, there's a problem and it's in this meter box here. Most properties these days have an external meter box and a lot of them have inside them a double pole isolator switch. And if I flick that, it's game over for all of those smart devices. So if you need to protect against that, you might want to think about somehow locking this door so no one can trigger that switch, or adding an uninterruptible power supply to your Wi-Fi router and a circuit feeding some of those critical smart security devices. So that's one problem solved and another one created that perhaps we can look at in another video. But for now, we can leave this property safe and secure for the owner who's away on business. And I've been promised a box of Turkish delight for solving this problem in double quick time on a Friday afternoon. If you're interested in solving problems, check out how we solved the problem of integrating the solar PV into the gas hot water system in this property, but I'll also leave a link for all of the smart home products that we've previously installed.